It's a quiet afternoon in Madrid when Javier and his wife were pulling into their parking garage. It's nice to be driving again, thought Javier. He recently recovered from a stroke and had to have his car modified so the gas and brake pedal were mounted on the steering wheel in his Porsche. He loves his car. Then suddenly, as he's entering the garage, the car accelerates uncontrollably into the garage. Javier looks down to catch a glimpse of his speedometer showing nearly 60 kilometers per hour. That's almost 40 miles per hour to you and me. Just as he looks up, he realizes he's about to crash into his neighbor's parked car. Almost immediately, smoke starts billowing from below his car and the other car, and a fire erupts. Javier hears explosions, not sure what's going on or if this might be the end. At that exact moment, two men pull Javier and his wife out of the car, saving their lives. Moments later, firefighters arrive and enter the smoke-filled garage to combat the blaze. Tragically, they both end up losing their lives in the line of duty, victims of the intense heat and toxic fumes. Their sacrifice highlights the dangers faced by first responders and how brave these men were in this day. Following this tragedy, the community of Madrid declared 3 days of official mourning to honor the fallen firefighters. But as you may have guessed, if you've seen my videos before, this isn't just a story about some brave firefighters trying to save some people in a dangerous situation. It's about misinformation in the media and how they jump to capitalize on tragedy regardless of what the facts may be. As the news goes, they reported the story quickly, with one added bonus to their headlines. Javier was driving an electric car. This means more ad revenue for their website, since EV fires are big news, and by that I mean more profitable. And of course, you have the usual anti-EV crowd pushing this agenda as well to sow fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the future of transportation, which, let's be real, the future of transportation is electric. There's no stopping that now, despite how many lies that these people want to spout out there. But I digress. The point here, and the reason I'm covering this at all, is because it's yet another example of how the media jumps to conclusions before the facts are in. Now, to their credit, the local authorities on site at that scene were saying that this was an electric car that Javier had been driving, a Porsche Taycan to be exact. But 2 days later, after the dust settled and the investigation concluded, they learned that Javier wasn't driving a battery electric vehicle. It was a hybrid electric vehicle, a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. And his car didn't just randomly explode out of nowhere, as many of these anti-EV folks on YouTube would like you to think. After the investigation was over, the news did an update to the story, to their credit. And in that, they said that the investigation indicates that the Porsche Panamera collided with a parked gasoline Dacia that began to burn and triggered the explosions. So those explosions Javier heard were not electric vehicle batteries igniting. In fact, most EV batteries don't explode, they burn. So whether or not an EV had anything to do with this is still under question. But before we move on, I need to talk about today's sponsor, EV Dance. They recently came out with one of the coolest accessories that if you have an EV and you charge at home, you absolutely need. This is their 40 amp level 2 Wi-Fi connected app enabled EV charger for your home. Now, if you're like me and sometimes you come home and someone else is in your driveway already charging, they also have an extension cord that pairs with this. So the way it works is you plug in the actual charger to a NEMA 1450 outlet or whatever outlet you have with the adapters and all that, and it actually powers up and it can pull up to 40 amps, more than the 32 amps that the UMC gives you from Tesla. So it has a much thicker cable, it's weather resistant, and it actually gives you more charge, which if you're a multi-EV family like I am, is actually a really good thing. It's a big benefit. Then when you need more room, you plug in this extension cable, which actually pairs perfectly with the home EV charger, and you run it all the way an additional 40 feet. No matter basically wherever you're at or whoever's parked in your way, like in my scenario, you'll be able to plug in and not have to worry about it. EV Dance also has versions of this for the J1772, so if you don't have a Tesla, if you have a Rivian or a Kia or something like that, you can get the versions that will work for your car. So you don't have to have adapters and all that. You just get it to where it all perfectly works together, and your home charging setup is definitely better than it was before. EV Dance is a company that's coming out with all kinds of cool, innovative products, and I'm excited to partner with them here on the show. So check them out at the link in the description and get an additional 20% off your new new EV charger for your home or extension cord or whatever else you may find that you need from their website. And outside of that 20% discount on the extension cord and adapters and whatever else you might need, EVDance is offering a pre-sale 30% discount on the EV chargers that I showed you here in this video. So check out the links in the description to learn more and get your setup upgraded. Thanks to EVDance for sponsoring this portion of the video. Now let's get back to it. And as I mentioned, the Porsche Panamera does have a lithium-ion battery, but it's a small one, and it's unlikely, even at those speeds, that any damage was caused to the battery, and very unlikely that it had anything to do with the creation of the fire. Remember, they burn, they don't explode. What does explode are gas tanks, like the one in this car that was stuck in traffic when it seemingly caught fire out of nowhere and then exploded.
This car was backed up in traffic due to a fatal accident, and all of a sudden it caught fire.
Or like this car that caught fire randomly just sitting there, and it had gas tanks inside of it that exploded, causing major damage to nearby homes and vehicles. And interestingly enough, with that one that exploded with the gas canisters, there was a note here that some lithium-ion batteries were also being stored in the car, though they were not compromised. Or what's even worse is when a whole gas station goes up in flames and the massive underground tanks holding thousands of gallons of pressurized combustible liquid explode, killing 4 people nearby. Or like this one at the Gatwick airport, which was just sitting there waiting to go, and the tires exploded. So the sounds you hear are the tires exploding because they're essentially melting. Now look, EVs aren't perfect, and they absolutely can catch fire, especially when they're in a crash. I think it's fair to say, and hopefully everyone, even on the anti-EV side, I hope that they can even agree that when a car is in a crash, all bets are off in terms of whatever else might happen afterwards. I mean, certainly gas cars can explode and catch fire when in an accident, or even when they're just sitting there. So it's not unique to electric vehicles. And at the end of the day, there's no way that someone can reasonably say that EVs are more dangerous than gas cars when a gas car is storing nearly 400 kilowatt hours of energy in the form of a combustible liquid inside of a plastic gas tank. At least that's my perspective. That when you look at the data, it's obvious that electric cars have a far lower risk of catching fire or any other issues with fires than gas cars. I mean, it's kind of obvious when the name is right there, combustion vehicle. And this is why I suppose the anti-EV crowd like M Guys and Stash D Training have to jump on these stories before the facts come out to prove them wrong. I mean, this has happened time and time again. And to be fair, I did reach out to Patrick at Stash D Training asking his thoughts now that we know that the car in this accident in Spain was a hybrid and a gasoline Dacia, not an electric car hitting a pole like initially was reported. Now, in his email, he said, realistically, a crash at that speed should not have damaged the battery. We have some guesses to why this happened, and it has to do with the design specifications around side pole impact, which again, I don't know if he read the article, but it doesn't appear that there was a side pole impact here. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see once the data comes out and more details about this crash. Ultimately, BEV or PHEV, battery electric vehicle or plug-in hybrid, there is still a possibility of a vapor cloud explosion. The plug-in hybrid still has a 25 kilowatt hour battery. For reference, the Jeep 4xe deflagrations are based around a 17.5 kilowatt hour battery. I hope to have info directly from the investigation soon and plan to do an update. There are some strange circumstances around this whole incident. So I think here he's at least acknowledging the fact that this wasn't caused by an EV, at least not a full battery electric vehicle. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to learn more. And for his part, I actually think that his mission to develop education products around battery fires is definitely needed. I do think that it's something that we all, pro-EV, anti-EV, should support. More education, more knowledge, more safety, all of those things I think everyone's in favor of. But what it comes down to here, for me anyway, is that the media is just too quick to jump the gun and point fingers, especially when the thing they're pointing fingers at can get them more clicks. They seem to be really happy if, say, a Tesla is involved in a crash, because then they can throw in Elon Musk to the story and get more views and more ad revenue, right? And then you have all the other folks that are on this anti-EV train that they pull out these single anecdotes and make sweeping generalizations about a technology while completely ignoring the broader context and facts. facts. That is part of the problem, is that we as humans are so emotionally wired to want to know the details and care more about an individual incident like this than we are to sit back and look at the broader understanding that we've gathered by all the data combined and analyzed. Now, this is a problem that we have to solve, and it's why I came back to making videos about EVs after transitioning away from them for a few years. So I hope you guys are with me on this journey. Thanks to the channel members who recently joined and those who helped to sniff out misinformation like this. If you'd like to be a channel member, click the join button down below and you can support data-driven journalism. Make sure to click it on the laptop or desktop or whatever instead of your phone. It seems to work better. And come backstage with me and talk about these things and help find these stories, because I truly believe that this work of gaining a better understanding by looking at the data is going to help us move forward in a cleaner and better way for all of us. So that's it for this one, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you back here next time.